Let's put this to rest once and for all. Is Afro an African thing or an American thing? Did it start here? Did it start there? Does the word derive from Africa? Okay, let's get to business. You seen that. That's my people. Afro, etymology means the history of the word. Full, bushy hairstyle worn by some people of African ancestry. We'll get to that. 1938, from Afro, sometimes shortened to fro, as a general adjective for black hairstyles of clothing, music, etc. It is attested from 1966. Now, they'll also say later on that the so-called origin, now this ain't the word's definition, it is a so-called origin possible for it. It says word forming element meaning African, from Latin affer, stem from of affer, afri, african. But just because the word star and start sound the same and are spelled very similar, you just put a T at the end of the other one, doesn't mean that the star derives from start or whatever. Vice versa on the last, but so let's look at this again. When you come to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, it has two meanings. The first meaning is afros of a hairstyle. The second meaning talks about it being a, variant of afro, this, afro, that, right? When you come down to the etymology of the word, it says a derivative of afro, right? And it says first known use, 1966, in the meaning defined above. Which meaning, the first or the second? Well, when you click the hyperlink, the first known use of the word wasn't for Afro from Africa. It takes you back to here. It was utilized as a hairstyle first. A hairstyle worn by my people. This Afro-Indigenous, this Afro-American, all this stuff came later. But some was before. Remember, the first known use was in 1966, apparently in the dictionary. But the first time your boy can find the word in the newspapers was in 1891, Afro-Americans. Oh, wait a minute. The word is being utilized before it's being put in a dictionary. Let me show you. Because I forgot to show you this dictionary. Let me show you the type of dictionary. This dictionary comes from 1828. So quite an old dictionary. When you come to the AFRs, Afri, African, Afri, Affront. Oh, it completely skips Afro. Here's the full page if you want the proof. Afro didn't exist as a word prior, or at least it wasn't in the dictionary. But words are put into the lexicon, into the world, typically before they're put in a dictionary. Because people who make dictionaries aren't sitting around coming up with words. We'll call this the Afro. Yes, yeah, well, there's going to be a hairstyle coming out soon, rounded shaped rafts. Yes, that's what we'll put in here. No, they wait until niggas start wearing their hair out and start calling it something. Now, all throughout here, though, you see 1891, Afro-America, 1891, Afro-Americans, Afro-Americans here. Now, there are pictures and paintings of us as people who have afros, but it wasn't a super popularized hairstyle until the 1970s, which is why they say its first use is 1966. Now we know it existed in the newspapers before it was in the dictionary. We know it wasn't in the dictionary until a certain point, at least in 1828. But it wasn't until the newspapers until 1871, and then the dictionary says its first known use as a major hairstyle was 1966. So we're gonna look to see if we can find any footage of Africans, old footage with afros. footage from the 1930s and a little bit more colored footage, so you ain't saying I'm picking and choosing, you know what I'm saying? But now let's look at Black Americans random footage. Now the funny thing is, like just off top, when I YouTube the term 1950s Black Americans, I get these photos, right? 1960s photos, I get these photos. 1960s search. 1970s, what do you got there? What do you got right there? Now, what you will see here is our hair is not necessarily in afros. There is the potential of afros, and there will be some people out there with afros. Harder to find as it was not popularized until later.
Strength and support for one another. There are hundreds witnessing this important moment, sort of going to the river.
Now, in the 1960s, you got more people still out here, hairstyles changing up quite a bit. You know what I mean? Look at them showing it off. You know, there will be some afros, not much. When you step into that 1970s nigga with an afro, there's another afro there. You know what I'm saying? Another one coming up right there. Look at that fro. 1970s New Orleans, it was all over. We was in it. We was in the game. Look at that. 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 He getting started. You know what I'm saying? Y'all better get off our motherfucker. Man, look. Look at that. Look at these. Look at that. Look at that. So let's just recap so you can tell these people for sure. Afro is a hairstyle. First known uses somewhat 1938, but we know they were calling us that in 1891. It was a hairstyle then as well, not prominent, but utilized enough to where they would call us that, right? You don't have them calling Afro-Africans, right? 1891, first use. So its first use was in the Americas, and its definition initially describes a hairstyle. You will find their hairstyle prominently among the Americans. You may even find us in our indigenous garments with afros in some old paintings with multiple rows of pearls and beads, multiple rows of pearls, as Hernando de Soto had explained. And you can find even more of us having afros, even in an indigenous state. So don't let these people ever take the word to mean anything African. They don't wear them afros today. They didn't wear them yesterday, yesteryear. Even this black Seminole has a little startup fro. It's curly. It's the texture of the hair. We put a little something in it and we round it out. If y'all don't quit playing with us.